All right, we're going to continue our series improving the job tracking solution that we built in FileMaker. If you have not been following along, there's an 8-part series on setting up the job tracking solution in FileMaker. If you are a brand new FileMaker novice and you're trying to set up a job tracking solution, I would go back and start there. This is going to build off of that a little bit. But if you're a little bit familiar with FileMaker, you should be able to keep up. We're not going to do anything today that's outside the ordinary or outside of what you might already have set up in a solution that you have currently. So would really appreciate a like, comment, and a subscribe if you feel that the video is worth it. So here we have our layout set up, and we've got our time tracking tab here that we built in a previous video. That's just the tab control from up here. Very simple. And we want to build a time tracking tool that you can use to track how many hours and minutes were put into a job. So this might track 15 minutes on Tuesday, and then a half hour Wednesday afternoon, and then 13 minutes Friday morning. And you add those all up and you build a customer for whatever that is, an hour and a half, and send them the bill for that because you've actually documented the time. And so this is going to build a kind of a report of all the time used and who actually set those or who actually did the work during that time. And it's going to be pretty simple. It shouldn't take us too long. It'll be a little bit longer video, but we should be able to go through it. If you guys, again, if you have questions, I would love to hear them in the comments. If you make a comment below, I will respond to all the comments down there. So thank you. And again, this is made possible by Firesprint.com. I'm one of the founding owners of Firesprint.com. We use FileMaker at Firesprint.com, and we're a trade printer. So check us out, Firesprint.com. All right, so the first thing we're going to do is we need to build a time log table. So I'm going to hit Control-Shift-D and open up the database manager here. And so, or you can go to File Manage Database, and I have already created this time log table here, and we're going to add a few more fields to it. So let's go check it out. I'll double click. And then within the fields here, we have the end timestamp. That's a new field that we've added. That's really important. And then the creation timestamp is actually going to be our start time. So we don't really need a start and an end time for this period of time that we're tracking. We just need the end time because we're going to create the record at the moment of the start time. So that gives us the timestamp that we need with a creation timestamp. Now, the other thing that we're going to need to track time is some sort of totaling field. And so we're going to use a calculation field to do that. So I'm actually going to type time total and total amount. And this is going to be a calculation. And I'm going to click create. And so what we're going to want here is we're going to want to take the end time minus the creation timestamp, and that's going to give us the number that we need in time. So the calculation result is time. And do not evaluate if all reference fields are empty. That's fine. And then I think we're going to leave it just like that for now and see if that works for us. So click OK. I may have to come back and make this calculation field unstored, which we can get into, but let's just go see if that works. And then the other thing that we need to do is we need a summary field that adds up all the time on a job. So I'm going to hit .s, and then I'm going to make this a summary, and then I'm going to click create. And what a summary field does is it totals up, well, it says right here, use a summary field to compute the result of a set of records. Use the same summary field in one or more summary parts to complete a result. Basically, a summary field is going to add up. In this case, we're going to add up all the time total records that we have. So we could have a bunch of different events that we want to add up. The summary field is going to do that for us. So total of the time total. And I just add the .s there to remind myself that it's a summary field. FileMaker doesn't care at all really what we name these fields. There can be spaces in there. You can put dots in there. No real special characters, but other than that, it doesn't care. That .s just helps remind me that this is a summary field that we're looking at. Okay, and then under relationships here, we do have our time log table. I want to tie a time log to a job. And so if we're going to bill a customer for time, we're going to have to associate that to a job that we were doing for them. So I do have the job key in the time log table, just like we did in the job log table in the previous videos that we did. And so we're going to tie that in just like that. And then the other thing that I want to do is I pretty much always want to be working on the most recent time log entry. And so the way I'm going to do that is through a sort. And I'm going to sort records. So in the time log, I don't care how the jobs are sorted, but in the time log, I want to sort records. And then I actually want to sort the records by the creation timestamp. Now, creation timestamp in ascending order is how records are sorted by default within FileMaker. So how they're created, they're just built, stacked one after another in the database. And so I actually want that reverse order. So the newest record is always at the top. So if I set that descending order, you can see now the newest record is always going to be at the top if we ever list the records out. So I'm going to click OK. Click OK. And I think we're going to be ready here. So one of the first things I'm going to do, just so I can kind of see what's going on, is I'm going to make a portal here. And this portal is also going to serve as our report. And I'm going to tie this portal to the time log so that we can actually see the log in real time as we create it. And then always allow vertical scrolling. That's just what we do. And then we don't need to sort it because we've actually sorted it through the relationship. So there's no need to sort it here. If we didn't sort it through the relationship, we could sort it here. But sorting a portal here is superficial. It's just all it's doing is sorting it on that layout that you're looking at it. Whereas when we sort it at the relationship level, it's kind of sorted at the database level, I guess, if you could think of it that way. So it's a deeper level sort. And we don't have to go through and fix every portal or something if we sort it that way. So I like alternate row state. That's this lighter gray and darker gray. And then active row state means if we click on one, it kind of highlights it. So we're good with that. And then we're going to want, let's see, the created by. And then we're going to want the start time. So we'll say creation timestamp. And then we're going to want the end timestamp. And then we're going to want the time total. And I think that's probably a pretty good. We know what job it's going to be on because we're already working in a related portal to the job that we're looking at. So no reason to add the job key or anything like that, which we wouldn't understand the job key anyway. And then actually let's put created by right there. So we'll have that created timestamp as the first row, and that's what we're actually sorting by, so that'll make the most sense. So click OK, and it'll create that. All right, and so let's just go check that out, make sure that looks right. If I go to time tracking, there we go. There's actually entries in this because I was messing around with it before, so we'll leave that be. Okay. There shouldn't be any entries in yours if you just created that field. And then the other thing that we need is we actually need a couple of buttons. We need a button to start. So let's do start time. And let's do, what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually have the start time start the record or create the record. And then we're going to have the end time. I'm actually going to put the end time. Or let's just call it end. Let's do that. So end. I feel like end for stop or red for stop. And then we'll do a green for start. And then, so there's too much padding in that cell. Let's do this. I'm just tabbing through those real fast. And I'll put a button here. And then that ends it. Okay. And then we got a big green start here. Great. It's going to save that. Let's just see what that looks like. Looks good. And then we've got the end buttons here. And of course, the buttons don't do anything yet. Okay. So the end time, let's do this in order. So the start time, we're going to need to create a script. So I have actually created that script already. And what I've done was I've taken the job log status change script and I've copied it to the start time clock. And so what's going on here with this script, we'll just go through it real quick, is that the first step, we're going to freeze the window, which we always do. And that just holds the window where it is. Something else that's just good practice is we can commit records with dialog off. Okay. And what that's going to do is if the user has like a field selected and their cursor's like blinking in a field and they're about to change it, to commit the records, just commits that field and it makes it the whole record editable again. And then we can go through and run the script. There can be errors if we don't commit the record first in certain cases, probably not with something this simple, but it's always a good idea. So freeze the window, commit the records, and then what we're going to do is, just like we did when we were doing the job log tracking, we're going to grab the job information, so the job primary key, and then we're going to grab the status of that job. I just want to take that information and know the status that was on that when we started the time. That could be useful in the future. And then we're going to go to layout. We're going to go, oh, I don't have a layout for the job time. And so let's go file, manage, layouts. Okay. And then I can just create a new layout here for the computer, finish. And then I'll double click on it and I'll just set this to time log and I'll call this time log. And this isn't something that we're ever going to really visit. So I just need a placeholder here. I need this layout to exist so that we have some place to go or some place to tell FileMaker where to go when we go to a layout so that we edit the information on that table. So I don't even need to open it. I just need it to exist. And then we'll go back to the jobs here. And then I'll go back to my script workspace and let's set that layout. So time log, okay. So we've grabbed the information from the job. We go to the time log layout. We're going to create a new request or a new record. And then we're going to set the field here to time log job key, okay, with that job variable that we've saved. And then we're going to set the status with that status variable that we've saved. And then the creation record, the timestamp on this being a new record that's created is created automatically for us. That's something FileMaker set up for us. And then we're just going to go back to the original layout, which is the job layout that we're on. So I'm going to hit Control S to save that. And then I'm going to make this button, button setup, perform script, the start time clock. Okay. And then change cursor to hand. I like to do that. And then that's it. So save, Control S to save. And then this one, the end, all we're going to do is I'm just going to stamp in the current timestamp into the end time. And so I can button setup here. Single step is all I need. And I'm going to set field. Then I'm going to go select the time log end time field. And then the calculated result, get current timestamp right there. Okay. And so these get commands are awesome. And it's just something that you should probably explore. But get current timestamp is just going to insert the current timestamp at that moment in time into that field. And that's all we want to do. So, okay, we've got that. So I believe we're going to have a time log set up here. So I've got time tracking. If I hit end here, that inserts that timestamp. If I start an event, there it is. And I can hit end. And we see that was for 4 seconds. So this is kind of working. It's not as smooth as I'd like it to be. One of the things is that if I hit start time, it takes me back to the job info. And that's kind of odd. I'd kind of like it to leave me there. So there's a bunch of ways to do this. But let me show you one of the more common ways to kind of preserve the screen. So if we go back, we need to go back to that script. Okay. And rather than going to the layout, what I'm going to do is I'm going to say new window. And then I'm going to use the layout time log. And then for the window name, I'm going to say get script name. You'll thank me later. But that is useful because it's if you get a window that's stuck somewhere, to know the script name of that window name is very useful. And this is going to open and close so fast, I'm not going to worry too much about any of this other stuff for now. You can clean that up later. And then instead of go to layout, I'm going to delete that. And then here, go to layout, I'm going to delete this. I'm going to say close window. And what that's going to do is that's going to leave this job window exactly how it's sitting here. And then it's going to open a new window, do the time log stuff, create that record, put in that information, and then close that time log window. Okay. So this is one of those things you kind of have to visualize, because if you're not careful here, if I put a second close window here, it actually just closed the file because it's going to close the window that I'm on. So let's do this, but let's debug it while we do it, okay? So I'm going to minimize this. I'm going to go to Tools, Script Debugger, and I'm going to click Start Time and start time clock. So go down, freeze window, commit records, set the variables. We know that. And then new window. Here we go. What's this do? Okay, it opens up this time log window, which I didn't put any fields on this layout, which is fine. It's the time log table, but all the fields are they're hidden back there, I guess. Enter this information, which it is doing, and it'd be nice if I had the fields here, you could see that, but and then close this window, and then boom, we've created that record at 4:55:47, and there we go. That's the correct time. And then I can end this, and it's going to do the same thing. Set field. Since it's just one step, it's really simple. And then end this one. Okay. And so I think what that is doing is that's keeping us. So start, end, perfect. Okay. So that's keeping us on this table. That's right. Now, the other thing that I don't like is I can go in and I can end this now. Well, let's say this one from 1:57 today, and I just bump that field and that time is gone. It's lost, right? So I don't really, if my thought is that if there's an end time set in here, let me put some, so we'll call this start time. End time. Control drag duplicates it. User. And control drag again. Total time. Okay. And then even down here, what I'd like to do is I'd like to use that. If I go to the time log, time total.s summary, and that's going to be down here. Let's line that up with, there we go. Just call it total. See if that works. So there you go. You got 3 hours, and then a bunch of seconds. That's about right. 6 hours and 6 minutes we've put into this job so far. Okay, so I've got the start time, the end time, the user, and what I don't want to do is I don't want to be able to hit end here and keep resetting that end time, right? And so what we want to do, and there we go. That just takes a second to refresh because there's a lot of calculations going on here. What we don't want to do is we don't want to be able to do that. So I'm thinking that if this field has a value in it, which the only value it should have in it is a value that we've placed in it by hitting the end button, then let's hide the end button and make that time more permanent. So there's a few things that we need to do. First of all, we need to go in, and none of these things should be editable, right? It should be done with the buttons. And so let's go to the data here and let's uncheck browse mode. And then the other thing that I'm thinking is that if the end time has anything in it, then hide the end button, right? And so what I can do with this is I can say hide object when, okay, hide object when not is empty. End time. Okay. And so basically, ignoring the not for a second, is empty, end time. Well, the this is funny because you got like triple opposites here going on, because it's hide object when, so hide it when there the end time is not empty, right? So hide it when the end time is not empty. So that, I think that English makes sense to me. Hopefully it makes sense to you. And you might have to experiment with this. I often have to experiment with these kinds of things, because it's like you'll have like this triple negative playing out, and FileMaker keeps track of it beautifully. It doesn't have a problem. You know, you could have like a 50 negatives back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. It's going to calculate it out perfectly every time. But we as developers, we kind of have to understand, you are a developer if you're working on this, you kind of have to understand how that plays out. So let's see if that works. So I'm going to click OK. And so I'm expecting this whole column to just be empty, no end buttons. So exit layout, save. Got it. Okay. I think. So let's hit that start time, and boom, we got one here. So we've got an open end time, and then we can add that end time whenever we want. Okay. And so that is working pretty well, I think. I'm going to leave it at that. I'm curious if you guys want to go deeper into this, or if this is useful for you. If it is, please leave a comment below, and I'll be happy to go into this more. There are, I will admit, and frankly, with everything I've done and shown you so far, there are 1,000 ways to accomplish this. There's different ways to make the same thing happen within FileMaker. And then there's also other ways to think about it logically. Like, you know, in this case, I could start 2 timers. So I've got Joe and Jim working on this job at the same time. And so we want both timers running at the same time. And then when Joe is done, he finishes. And then Jim's done a few minutes later, he finishes. And then we've got different times that we're adding up. But maybe you don't want that. Maybe you only want one at a time to be able to go through. And there's ways to program this so it's only possible to have one time clock running at a time. But anyway, there's let me know if you want to go deeper into this, and I'm happy to. But thank you so much for watching. I really have a lot of fun making these videos, and I am very thankful for Firesprint.com for making this all possible. I am one of the owners of Firesprint.com, but they pay my bills so that I can have some time to do this kind of thing. So please check it out if you're a member of the printing, promo, or graphics industries. Have a good one. Thanks.